Privyet to my friends in Russia. I'd like to take you on a journey to Con Evans, starting here in the Surrey Hills, and we're going to go to our factory to see where our equipment is made. Come with me. There are three types of schools for deaf children in the UK. Schools for the deaf, where deaf children are educated together, mainstream schools with a specialist hearing unit, and a normal mainstream school. 90% of deaf children in the UK are educated at a mainstream school. In these schools, they use specialist equipment and they have specially trained teachers to help them. Hello, welcome to our factory. This is where our equipment is made. The ATU30 for auditory training, the FM Genie to help deaf children hear, and the IR Swift for everybody to hear. So come in, let's go and have a look at them being made. This is where we make our printed circuit boards for the FM Genie, the IR Swift and the ATU30. This machine is called Bertha. And this is the Swift TX Teacher's Microphone. This is an infrared microphone and it transmits the teacher's voice throughout the classroom so that all of the children, the deaf children and all of the children in the classroom can hear clearly what the teacher is saying. The teacher's voice is broadcast by the speaker at the back of the classroom. And now I'd like to introduce you to my colleague Richard.
This is the Con Evans FM Genie personal FM system, widely used by deaf children in schools. The teacher in the classroom would wear the transmitter with the microphone, and the child would wear the receiver, which is connected to their hearing aid or their cochlear implants. And it should mean that wherever the teacher is in the classroom, they can hear their voice nice and clearly. This is an FM Genie receiver with a neck loop connected to it. You would wear the receiver, for example on your belt like this, and then you simply wear the neck loop around your neck like that.
This is the FM Genie teacher's transmitter. The microphone clips on here and the transmitter clips onto a belt. Then the teacher speaks and conducts their lesson normally, and the deaf child will hear through their hearing aids via the receiver directly what the teacher's saying. So the teacher has their normal hands free for conducting their lesson and writing and talking to the children, and the deaf children in the classroom, they will hear very clearly what the teacher is saying. It's very easy to use. In the UK, there are three types of school for children who are deaf. We have schools which are called schools for the deaf, and these are just deaf children go to these schools. And they use equipment like the auditory trainer, which we call the ATU30, and the FM Genie radio aid system. These are some examples of schools for the deaf in the UK. These are the schools with specialist deaf teachers and special programs for deaf children. These are where the deaf children are educated together. We also have schools which are mainstream schools, and deaf children go to a mainstream school with their brothers and sisters and friends who they live with, and this is a school where children with good hearing go and children who are deaf and hard of hearing. And they often have what is called a hearing impaired unit within the school. Some of the deaf children have some lessons in that unit, some have all of the lessons in that unit. These schools use the FM Genie and the IR Swift. Deaf children may go to a mainstream school which has a unit specifically for deaf children. One or more classrooms may have been adapted especially for teaching deaf children. In some schools, deaf children are taught only in the unit,
In other schools, the deaf children will take part in some mainstream activities and have some of their classrooms in the unit.
We also have mainstream schools with no hearing impaired unit where deaf children go. And again, the deaf children use this equipment for the teacher to speak directly to them, and they use the Swift for the teacher to speak to all of the class and all of the children. So we have 3 types of school in the UK where deaf children can go for their education. Normally they don't have to travel long distances or stay away from home. They can live at home with their families. In the USA and Canada, sometimes we don't agree with all the things that the USA says and does, but one thing they've got 100% right is every classroom in every school in the USA has a sound field system. Not necessarily one from Con Evans, but they all have a sound field system. In every classroom, in every school in America and Canada, every classroom has a sound field system, so all the children can learn more easily. And we hope soon that every classroom in every school in the UK also has a sound field system soon. At the moment, it's about 20 or maybe 25%. And this is our production area where we make the IR Swift for use in classrooms. And this is our auditory training unit. This is to teach deaf children to speak. The deaf child uses these headphones. They're very loud, fantastic quality headphones with a microphone, and they can hear their own voice. Their teacher uses this microphone, and when the teacher speaks, the deaf child will hear through the headphones what the teacher is saying, and then they can repeat it using the microphone, and they hear their own voice. By using this method, they can match the sound that their voice makes to the sound of the teacher, and then we hope they will learn to speak by copying what they've heard the teacher say. This auditory training equipment has been designed and used in the UK for more than 25 years. It's been very successful and is now being used all over the world in places like Russia, China, Africa and across Europe, and it is still very, very successful today. And to make sure the equipment works perfectly for all the deaf children, we individually test every single piece of equipment before it leaves our factory. Here's Robbie testing some equipment right now.
Thank you to all our friends in Russia from all of us here at Con Evans in the UK. It is our privilege and pleasure to work so closely with the Centre of Hearing and Speech. Spasibo.